Check 1, 2. Welcome back to learning the hard way by making mistakes and learning from them one at a time. Today's episode is brought to you by teleconverters or extenders and the telephoto lenses that I use. I thought I might have had it figured out. I've made a whole video about learning from my mistakes and talking about how I know that the 2x doesn't work with one of the lenses. Canon says that, but it should work with a 1.4. And so I took it out and I did that last time when I went out last week. And then I got back and I edited the photos and no, not really. I still had trouble focusing, still had trouble getting a clear, sharp image. Some of them were doubled, which is weird. That's a different kind of, I guess, aberration, I guess what they call it, or distortion. I'm not 100% sure, but that's fine. We're doing something a little different today because I bought the equipment like a month ago and I haven't been able to use it yet, or I just haven't made the chance for it yet. But anyway, I'm going to focus on landscape today. I've got some different things that I want to try, stuff that I've been learning. So I drove a good ways this morning out to a park that is on the Colorado River. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a walk to get to the river from the parking lot and take with me the camera, the video camera, and the new stuff that I bought, which were some tripods and a slider track and a nice head to go on that so that I can set the whole thing up and try to get some nice slow panning, tilting shots, things like that of the landscape. I want to practice a few things. I watched some videos. I read a book. I did not read all of the book. I started reading the book, let's be real. I looked at it a little bit in different ways and kind of flipped around a bit. So I've got a lot more reading to do there, but I want to try to practice because I learn the best by getting out and doing. When I'm out, I remember things from previous experience more than I remember from a video I watched or a book I read. It's unfortunately just what it is, which means it's going to take me longer, but I will learn in the end, hopefully. So I've got all of that, but I also did bring the Sony still photography and the lens, and I'm just going to try it without the extender, just as is, to see if I can get a clear image out of it, because my alternative is about $2,000 to buy a Sony branded lens to go on it, which I should do, and to be honest, I should do anyway. It's newer, it'd probably be better. I do like the Canon lenses that I've used, but I was always using them on Canon camera bodies, and they work great. Don't really have $2,000. Thankfully, I am working on the contract work right now, so I don't know why I tugged on my hat when I said that, like this is somehow related to what I'm doing. Product photography doesn't really have anything to do with a hat, this particular hat, but I like this hat. Anyway, that's my plan for today. After I get done with the landscape stuff, I don't plan on being out too long because unfortunately I did have other things to do this weekend, so it is a Monday. We are into October now though, and it is very pretty with the leaves and stuff, so I'm hoping to show, that's why I picked here, I found online, some pretty landscape of like the river with mountain backgrounds and things like that. So I got most of it back there. I'm going to go load up, head out, and start walking around, see what I can see. I think I found a fairly nice place to start out. We've got, let's flip around the camera here. Bit of mountain. Got the water. Right there here. There actually is, back up, a trail. So you can fish right along here. But I'll just set up and get a shot here, I think. Come out to another spot along the river now, just a little further down where I've got some landscape. Bit of the mountains, nice water. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Try to get you all tightened down here. Recording, battery charger, going, this stuff, all of that. I forgot to once again clean the review camera. Hopefully I remember when I get back. I can't really wear that one while driving. Typically try to wear a hat most days so I don't burn my... Didn't release the parking brake all the way apparently. Okay, let's see here. Pretty sure I can just go right up. Can't I? Very interesting place. I think there's some history there. I meant to stop and I forgot, but don't worry, I am coming back here for sure. There we go. Definitely going to come back. I think if it weren't, I spent far longer than I meant to. I really only planned to come out for a couple of hours because of what I still want to get done today. I still have on my to-do list, more or less. Empty highway. But I was going to, as I mentioned before, take out the what am I trying to say? The Sony still photography is what I'm mostly using it for, and put the bigger lens on it. Not the biggest, but the walking around lens that I've had trouble with, since I haven't had trouble with the other one. I was going to do that and do a kind of test to see if I could get a clear photo and do some walking around, but it's already 10:30. I only meant to come out and do that for an hour or two, and then I just kept going. It was really cool. Nice spot, great park. Not super crowded. Wow. Hold on, can I just look at the mountain ranges? I'm sorry it's on an angle. There's not much I can do. It's not really set up, but whew, look at that. I will say, I really like, let's get you flipped back around. I do really like that feature of this little camera head on a gimbal. And now the speed goes up. Okay. I do like that because I could just flip it around. And I actually figured out that I can, typically when you go to turn it on, it turns on facing you as a frontward facing all the time. But if you press a different button to turn it on, it'll actually turn it on and have it facing outward. So that just saves me time when I have to teach myself to get used to that. But anyway, great place. Yeah, there was disc golf further on that I didn't actually get to, but I think looking at the map, it's probably a little bit more open. And nice, right along the river. I started out, first thing I learned doing this, I do not need to bring with, like, if I'm going to be doing something where I'm going to be moving from location to location, as opposed to like set up and go. Make sure my audio is still going. Yes, just checking. Okay. If I'm going to be doing something where I'm moving from location to location, it makes a lot of sense to just go ahead and build up the camera,
get the tripod stuff, the slider, get everything ready while I'm at the car, and then leave the backpack, the Pelican case, the case for the slider, all of those things in the car, because I don't really need them when I'm moving, stuff like that. If I was just going to a place where I was going to then hike somewhere and go, I'm gonna go to the top of this mountain, and then I'm gonna start recording there, and I'm gonna get a shot, and I'm gonna pack it up, and I'm gonna go back. Like, that makes sense. But I got out there, I picked the first spot. It was fairly close, right there at the river. I thought it was very nice. I had some mountains on one side and the river, and then some older houses or something like that, because it's a park, it's a city park, and this is a small city right there. But setting it up like that, I think, worked really well, and I really liked, how that I did that, and I started getting the shots, and I liked the river, I liked how that looked and everything there, and then I realized that I just had my backpack and the thing like that. So I did the one thing that I never liked doing, and that was I just kind of put the camera and the tripod and everything just in the bushes, and grabbed my bag and my case and everything, and just ran back to the car real quick and then came back. I don't like leaving things unattended. I barely like leaving things, like just knowing that I had the Sony and the lens and everything in my bag here in the front seat, even though the car's locked, the alarm's on, it still makes me nervous. I'm not a huge fan of, I'd rather pick what I'm doing for the day, take everything with me to do that thing, go do the thing, and that way I have everything on me more than leaving it somewhere where I can't see it. I get nervous about that, but yes. Besides the fact that I spent far longer doing that than I meant to, I still have quite a few things to get done today before my week can really start for the work and everything. I did not get the chance to really test out the camera and the still photography, but that's okay. I will do that. I can do it at home. I thought it would just be more interesting to go outside where you could do different things and just take a few minutes to walk around, but I really am pushing getting my lunch stuff prepared. And anyway, so I will do that another day. I'll probably just do that at home to make sure that I'm not crazy. It is entirely possible. I mean, I know what I'm trying to do, and I know that I'm pushing it. Canon does not recommend using the 2x extender, right? They literally say, not going to work. Now, I did make it work a little bit with the Canon body that I used to shoot with, but it only had the single focus point. It didn't have the full range of all the many different points that I have available throughout the camera. So I would only use that with the 1.4, but I got good images out of that. I would be able to do that with the Canon. The Sony, I have to use an adapter to go from Sony lenses to Canon lenses. So that one is a bit more of a not recommended, I'm sure. That one specifically, the one that I got, the adapter, I got because I found other people saying, yes, this will work with telephoto lenses and the extender, but they weren't using the lens that I am. So that kind of makes sense. The reason, I have explained this before, I'm pretty sure, but I want to go ahead and go through it again. Aperture for a camera, right? Those are the blades inside of a camera. If you've ever seen inside of a lens, and I highly recommend looking at images of that because it makes a lot more sense if you know what it looks like. The inside of it has a circular set of rings that close in or do that. And when the more it can open up, the more open it is, that is how fast a lens is what it's called. The wider open, it refers to a lower aperture number, an f-stop number. When you put an extender on there, it immediately adds on to whatever that is, and it makes it so that you cannot go as wide open. So my big lens has an aperture of 2.8, f2.8, which is one of the biggest that you can get. They do go bigger, but they are crazy expensive, and they just straight up don't exist for what I do with wildlife photography and long lenses. They exist in much shorter form factor, or not form factors, but like shorter in millimeters. They open up even wider. Some of the widest ones can get down below 1, so like a 2.8, and every number doubles. But anyway, the point is, if I put a 2x extender on my f2.8, which is the big lens that I have, it becomes an f5.6. After a certain point, and usually it's f8, from what I read online, autofocus stops working. It can't go that closed off, have that open of an aperture, and the autofocus still works, which is why you can't really use it with certain lenses depending on what you're trying to do. Straighten that out a little bit. So my 100 to 400, the zoom lens that I have, does not go nearly that open. I think it goes f4 to f5.6 is the range, which means that when it's zoomed all the way back, if it's at 100 millimeters, it's f4. And as you zoom in, it has to adjust the blades in order to achieve that level of distance, to go to a 400 millimeter and to achieve that length. It has to go in a bit. So when I zoom in, which is obviously what I'm going to do with it, it goes to a 5.6. So if I put a 2x extender on it, 5.6 doubled is actually, it's like 11. The numbers don't 100% line up, but yeah, it's basically f11. And so autofocus is just out of the question at that point, is what I learned before. Now, a 1.4x extender does not double it twice, so that's where I could still get away with it back on the Canon camera, is that still fully extended, you add 1.4, it's not doubled quite, but it does keep it, I think it goes f8, I don't remember exactly, I'm pretty sure that is the lowest number I can get when I am fully extended on that lens. And yeah, I'm having trouble with it at that point. The photos I took last week when I went out and I saw what I thought were grosbeak, but they're crossbill, as I learned, and I possibly saw, I don't even know what one of them was. I looked and I could not find it in the book. I couldn't find anything, even, I don't know. I'm still learning, and that one I really couldn't identify. It could very well be like a hybrid between a couple different things, and so then it's even more difficult to narrow down what it is. But point being, I think I also saw a J, maybe a Stellar's J, because it had the black head to it. That was last week's video. And then the moose. But I go looking at them, and I felt like when they're on the ground and they're right there in front of me, I've gotten those pictures before, and they come out really nice, just as far as how detailed and crisp you can get it. And I didn't get that with the new camera. And they had aberrations to them. They kind of were doubled up. It's almost, in some instances, it was almost like my shutter speed wasn't fast enough to make up for the fact that I was moving it around in handheld, but I definitely was shooting at a very fast shutter speed, so it's not that. And I do think that it's me trying to go too far with the extenders on top of the adapter does add something to it. It's not calculated into there, but I imagine it does count, where I've got body, adapter, extender, and lens. I think it's all just too much. So I really wanted to test that out, and I didn't get to today. It just didn't happen. So I'll try it at home with just, if I can find the length maybe down the hallway of my condo, try to figure out what I can take a picture of. Excuse me. At that length to test it and see if I get that, because there was some, I don't know all the terms. It could be artifacting. It almost like doubled up in some instances where you could see the outline of it, and then just around it there's another outline, and I'm sure there's terms, and I got to go back and start doing some research. It's been a while since I looked that up because my focus really turned to video, and I don't have those problems with video, quite honestly. So I did not get to do that, but I think it will be a great spot. I did see some birds while I was out. I didn't see anything immediately. I saw something yellow, something very small and very yellow, maybe a warbler, that I thought was very, very, very pretty. And I bet all the leaves have really turned yellow now. So it very much just blended right in with everything else. But I bet if I come back in the winter, I'll be able to see it against the white background of snow and things like that, or the trees without the leaves on them. I think they'll be even easier to spot. And that's not exactly my idea. While I was out walking back, well, hold on, let me go through the series of events as it was. I got there, went to the river, started looking, walked further down, looking along the river, right, started going, got to the place where the disc golf kind of was, but there's actually a bridge that you can walk across, and I thought, this will be cool. And that's really where it kind of clicked in my head of like, not just going out and looking at pretty landscapes, but trying to show everything. And I realized if I start shooting, I went on the bridge at first, and so I was getting some shots of from on the bridge looking at the water. No, I'm not going to be able to go around. We're just going to stay right where we're at here. Changing lanes to see if I could get around this slower car while we're still in town before we get back on the highway, because they're towing a very old vintage vehicle. But not going to worry about it. Anyway, so that's when it kind of, like I said, it almost kind of clicked for me of like, I can't just put it up on here. I was testing out, one of the things that I'd looked was playing around with foreground objects and background objects in the same thing, so you get kind of a sense of a sense of scale for the entire thing, instead of just seeing the landscape. If you can see something that you can identify and go, oh, that's how big this thing is, or something that's here in the foreground, then it helps you get a good depth for the scale that was there. So I was playing around with that, and up on the bridge there were the rusted metal pillars for the bridge, and I was kind of getting that in the shot while I was doing kind of a panning shot of the river with the mountain behind it. And it made me realize, well, I need to be able to show, hey, here's the bridge. Even if I'm not I'm practicing, right? I'm not specifically going out and being like, this is what it is, and telling a story with the video like I do want to work towards. But I kind of am, and I can include it in this specifically of just like, here's this. Well, I need to show a shot of the bridge. If I just suddenly go from like, here's river, here's landscape, the mountain area, and then all of a sudden on top of a bridge over the river, it's a little disorienting to make that jump. I think if you see the bridge first, which you may be able to actually see in one of the landscape shots, but then I got some shots of the bridge. And I actually found it interesting before I got to that point. There was another thing that caught my eye, which was just a row of, old telephone poles, because I'd never seen ones quite like that. You see your traditional telephone pole here in the United States, very tall, very high up. They've got usually a cross pattern at the top, things like that. This one had that, but it had a lot more lines going across it, and each one was connected to, the only thing I can really compare it to is like a bell, like a service bell that you would ring on, a bell, right? And each one was connected to something like that, which I thought was interesting. And there are train tracks running through there. So I'm standing there and I'm looking at that. I'm listening to see, is there a train coming? Because I thought, oh, that would be a cool shot, would be to pull back as the train comes into focus. You set up the camera on the track going vertically, and then pull it back as the train comes into focus, into view. I thought that would look really neat, but no train. I do have a plan to do that because this area is going to get snow, and the trains will still run, as far as I understand it. I don't know why they would stop. And I'm pretty sure they just put plows on the front, right? So how cool would it be to get a slow motion shot of, I didn't do any slow motion today. Slow motion with the water would have been great. Why did I forget that? A slow motion shot of the train barreling down the tracks, if you can get as close as safely I can get to the tracks, and have that, again, a shot where you kind of pull back on the dolly of the train coming towards you with the snow. I assume it will look like snow kind of not really exploding out, but being pushed to the side at speeds that a train will go at. So I do want to do that when the snow comes, when the winter really hits. I have that plan. That's kind of a goal in mind that I thought this would be a neat shot, and I think I can do it because the train tracks do run. There are trains that run through this area. So that's kind of my thought there. I'd like to do that. But anyway, so I get that, and I do that, and I get to the bridge, and I go on the bridge, and I go off the bridge, and I go almost under the bridge down there, and I'm getting some shots there. Should have done some slow motion with the water, because there were some rocks creating a bit of, not really rapids and not really a waterfall, but enough that would look pretty, I think. Should have done that, so whoops. I'll have to remember that for next time. All I have to do there is just kind of switch the frame rate over so I can shoot at a higher frame rate. With that camera specifically, I can go 120 and have it played back over 60, so that's twice as slow. It looks pretty good. I've used it for a good number of things. But anyway, I'm walking back, and it is getting more crowded at that point. People have been coming through while I'm on the bridge. They're going to play disc golf and fish, and it's, there's a decent amount of people there. It picked up, but it was, around 10 o'clock at that point, so that kind of makes sense. And I'm walking back, and somebody does see us and goes, "Oh, photographer." And that's usually their opener, as I see a lot of people, and people like to comment on what I'm going and what I'm doing and what I'm carrying. I mean, it looks pretty big usually, especially the setup today. I had the whole 9 yards so that I could put like a filter in front of the lens that I picked up, and so that requires me to have the whole matte box and rails on it with the focus wheel. Anyway, I get through all that, and I go, yeah, nature photography, and the guy starts talking to me, and we wind up standing talking for maybe 10-15 minutes, and of course he's local to the area and very nice and really interested in what I'm doing, and he does this, he goes out there to take pictures of the birds especially, and we talked about cameras and what lenses we use and that kind of stuff, and he recommends it as a good spot, and so he goes there multiple times a week. So I have a feeling I'll run into him again, and I do, like, if I had some more time, I probably wouldn't mind. I also am carrying big stuff, and that was, one of the comments he made about like, oh, it must be really heavy and you must want to just move on. And I go, oh, no, I don't mind stopping and chatting with someone, especially someone who has similar interests, because I do, throughout this entire thing that I've been doing for multiple years now, anytime going out into nature with a camera, the only people that have ever stopped to talk with me have been older men. That is the demographic right there. That's just the people in this country who are able to go out and do it. I'm not trying to generalize. Obviously other people do, but I have a feeling like just because of sketchiness and going out, women don't typically go by themselves, which is a shame that they feel insecure about that, to go out and do that I understand it. They feel dangerous. I've had that conversation with people before where they go, I don't want to be out alone in the woods. And so I go, I understand. And the only thing I can say is I am as respectful as possible. I don't like to talk to people anyway. Typically I'm antisocial unless they start it. So by doing that and giving people their space, I understand that. But that is just older people who have the time. Usually retired men are who I talk to about this, who've been doing it. But I would love to pick his brain specifically, the older people that I've stopped and talked with, talk about those things, and they have that understanding, that respect of the hobby, I guess, or by going out and doing it, they see the value in it, and so they really understand. They're like, oh, do you get to do this for a living? And I go, no, I have to work and sell things on Amazon for a living for some company to actually provide, because this does not pay the bills. And they're always like, that's a shame, but hopefully you'll get there, and they're always very encouraging. They want me to do that, and they're very willing to share the knowledge that they have, and I'm so appreciative of that, because that's something that that's what I don't have, is I don't have the years of experience of doing that. And that's why I'd love to pick their brain and go, where do you go? When do you go? What do you look for? How do you, because that guy specifically says he's been doing it most of his life, and is estimated going to that one location more than 2,500 times. That's insane. That's a huge amount. That's amazing. He knows that place forward and backwards, and just had so many nice things to say about it. And so that was where I was getting to with it, was he specifically said, when you come out in the spring, this area gets a lot of colorful birds coming to it, especially the warblers, like he talked about. I'm like, that, brilliant. Yes, this is exactly what I want. So I definitely will be coming back here again soon, I'm sure. This might become a regular spot, because it's quiet. There was practically nobody until later in the day when the disc golf started showing up and the fishing. I imagine a weekend, that's kind of what he was saying. He said Monday's a great day to go out. He was walking his dog, so that's another common thing, is people go out walking their dog. But he said he's out most mornings with his Nikon camera, and I was like, I have a feeling I'll be seeing you again, sir. But yeah, great day out. Great to talk to somebody who's like-minded in that way, to kind of bounce ideas, I guess, kind of is what I would like to get to that point. This is just, the introduction, and that's all it's ever been when I have met somebody out doing that. Is it's always just like oh hey, we're both kind of passing in this one time, and maybe if we see each other again, we could talk more about it. So maybe we'll see. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I do plan on going back. I think that would be a good place to do some still photography, absolutely, because it's right there next to the water. There's plenty of cover on both sides of the trail that you walk down. It's also a road, so it's big enough, but there's closed off, except for, I guess, the park ranger who drove through at one point while I was standing there talking. So yeah, I think it could be good. There's camping there as well. It's a spot where you could camp, so I could just getting a little cold. It's dropping down almost to freezing. I saw yesterday, I looked out the window, the mountain ranges that are around had snow on the top of them. I was kind of hoping that there would be that today with where I was going, to see the snow and to be able to get that as part of the video, because I think that would be really pretty, to have running river, yellow trees and green mixed with the pine, and then the mountain range, and then you've got white all over that for the trees that are up there. This mountain, not so much. The one that was right there next to it, that was more rocky, and makes me think I'll see bighorn sheep there, which I'd love to. And that's how we started out, where he's like, yeah, you look all along this mountain range here. You had golden eagle earlier this year, and red-tailed hawk, and he said there's even a family of osprey that fish out of the river. And I'm like, just yes. All of what you're saying is absolutely what I'm interested in and what I want to be doing. So perfect. So we'll see. Next weekend might be, obviously, with it being Monday and I work Tuesday to Friday, kind of stuck inside for the next few days. And he said weekends are busier with everybody going, in the disc golf especially. But what I found interesting, and what I'm kind of hesitant knowing, not knowing this area and trying to learn more about it. I don't know what winter's going to be like. I don't know if it just, if it hits that. I don't think so from what I'm learning and everything. It doesn't get to the point of where you see like, oh, a snowstorm goes through and you open the front door and there's the full sheet of snow. That's what I always picture when I go, oh, up north and snowy. And it's probably because, again, Georgia didn't get much snow there. If we got a couple inches, it would quite literally shut down the city, which it did while I was still living there, unfortunately. So here, I don't think it's like that. And that's what I was asking. I was like, so it doesn't, because he said year-round. He's out every week. I was like, so that's it. Even when it snows, when winter hits, it doesn't keep you from going out. He's like, no, you just have to bundle up like an astronaut with all the layers. I went, perfect. So I do plan on doing that, bundling up. I've got a good couple of layers already from Wyoming winters, and then I just want to get some snowshoes so I don't make the mistake like I did last year of going places where you're not allowed to just be walking around in snow in boots, in regular shoes. You actually need the grip of the traction of like the tennis racket, Well, they don't really use tennis rackets, obviously, but a snowshoe that you clip on. So I do plan on buying those. I looked them up. They're $100 or so. I might do that out of this next contract work check that I'll get, because I've got a decent amount coming in from that. It's not quite enough to buy the lens like I was talking about earlier, so that's a little out of the way, but we'll see. I might pull from savings, honestly, just to try to do it, because I have maintained, even with all this stuff I bought to do the landscape videos, I've maintained for over a year now that any purchase I make, I do not go a single penny further into debt. If I buy it, it's because I got the money up front. And that has required me working a lot more of doing product photography on weekends and contract work, all the stuff there that provides me a second income, which drains me, as I talked about last week. I still felt it this weekend, but had a good time getting that. Did I say I had a good time? No, I was productive Saturday morning and knocked most of it out so that I could relax on Sunday, get productive stuff done like I needed to, and then today is more of a work day. Just in the fact of what I have to get done, of doing things. It's less of laying around playing video games like I did yesterday, which was quite relaxing and nice. I needed to take that time for myself. Anyway, that was a day. That was a morning out. It's almost 11 now. I still have a good bit to drive to do to get back home, and then all of the things that I have to do at home on my to-do list to get done before the end of the day. But good stuff out. Hopefully the footage comes out. I'll get to editing. That's what I did on Sunday. I had to edit all of yesterday. Not all of yesterday. I spent several hours trying to get that stuff. Editing the photos, which I was disappointed with. Editing the video to just kind of slap something together. I'll be honest, it's not my best work there, but it is, it is something. It is still a record of what I go out and do and see, and boy, it is pretty. There's some snow on the mountains a bit. I wonder if I can show you. Flip that around. See if you can kind of see. Unfortunately, once I mount the camera, I can't really take it back down again. But doing that, you can kind of see it. We had low clouds. That was another thing that kept me. Saturday morning was full on thunderstorm rains, and Sunday was very much. I thought, oh, if I do Sunday morning, if I go out, then I can. Monday is more of my relaxed day where I can not have to stress so much, and that leads into the work. So that was my plan, but I woke up yesterday morning and checked, and there was rain where I was going and full clouds, and that wasn't going to work. So today worked out to be the best. That was I took my chance where I got it. It worked out. I'm quite happy with it, and I think I'm just starting to repeat myself now. I'm going to go home and work on things that I got to get done, and editing next weekend of the footage. That's what I'll do. We'll see what day. I might go out and do some still photography at the same location Saturday morning, depending on the weather, or I might wake up Saturday morning, do my contract work first. I got to get it done each and every weekend because it has to be due. Anyway, that was it. Thanks for coming along today. I had a great time. I met a nice man and got some great landscape video, I hope, and discovered a new location that I definitely plan to explore a bit further. I could walk the entirety of the paths and trails beyond the disc golf because there might be a moose. That's what the man was saying, is that they've taken account of a moose that has bedded down in there, and boy, I would like to get some nice photography and video of moose. So we shall see. Until then, go outside. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but go outside. It's great out. It very much feels nice going outside and kind of being at peace with nature and enjoying the nice still landscape and just hearing all the birds and the rush of the water. And it's a nice time. I certainly enjoy myself. And I'm feeling a bit more confident and a bit better about going out and doing things, as I have been pretty stressed about that lately. Today helped. It's definitely going out was a success, and I'm glad I did it.